Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining this session on navigating the ecosystem of support for teaching sustainability. This session is part of RME Week, or Responsible Management Education Week. So do make sure to explore some of the other opportunities that are going on throughout the week. Prime's website has those all listed out. So yeah, there's lots of cool things going on. And this event is also the capstone of the NBS series on teaching climate. So thank you to all of you who have been joining those throughout as well. And we'll talk a little bit more on what's to come there later. But before we dive into things further, I wanted to provide a quick overview of the purpose and the flow of today's event. Go to the next slide, Chelsea. Thank you. So yeah, I know that we don't need to make the case for any of you on why teaching sustainability is important in business schools, as you are already the people who are blazing the trail on this and educating tomorrow's leaders about today's most pressing issues and opportunities. But we also know that you may have run into some challenges doing this. We've at least heard from our community that many feel like they're reinventing the wheel or starting from scratch when integrating sustainability into business school curriculum. And we've heard that schools don't always have the resources or the knowledge to support you throughout that process, but there are many groups who do. So today we wanted to introduce a few of those organizations that can help educators along the journey to teach more sustainability in business schools. Next. So there's actually lots of organizations operating at this intersection between academia and sustainability. But today we're going to focus on a few who have activities that especially support teaching. And so today's presenters are going to be ClimateCAP, GRONEN, Open Climate Curriculum, Prime I5, Sustainability in Academia, and the Network for Business Sustainability. That's us. So in terms of the flow of the day, for the first hour, we have presentations from each of those organizations that I just mentioned. They're going to spend 10 minutes talking about who they are and how they can support you in teaching sustainability. And then after that, rather than doing Q&As after each presentation, we're going to do this World Cafe model, which means everyone's going to be in breakout rooms and we'll have the presenters rotate through. So you get more time to have your discussion and Q&A with them individually. So if you do have questions or comments that come up during those presentations, make sure to hold on to those because you'll have an opportunity to share them a little bit later on. And during those breakouts, we also encourage you to turn your cameras on if you're able to, so that you can connect with others in the room. And then finally, we're going to close the event with a debrief panel. So we'll bring everyone back together and organization leaders are going to share some reflections and learnings and ideas that might have come out of listening to one another's presentation and also to listening to all of you in the breakouts. Just to note that the plenary parts of today's event are going to be recorded and they'll be shared with you afterward, and they'll also be available on the NBS website. We do encourage you to use the chat freely throughout the whole event. We also tend to capture some of the ideas and the resources that are shared in there, and we'll distribute those as well. And you can begin by introducing yourself now and there, share where you're calling in from, what your school is, anything you'd like. And yeah, with that, we can kick off our organization presentations. We're going to start with ClimateCAP. So I'll pass it to Katie.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you. My name is Katie Cross. I am the managing director of a center at Duke University's Fuqua School of Business in Durham, North Carolina in the US. Our center is called the Center for Energy Development and the Global Environment. And we are the hub for an initiative that we call ClimateCAP. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. I also want to mention my colleague, Jessica Wingert. She is not on the call today, but she's a terrific resource. She sits here also at Fuqua and is the program lead for our ClimateCAP partnership. So I've included her contact here and at the end of my slides in case any of you would like to follow up with either of us. Next slide. So ClimateCAP began in 2016 when my colleagues at Duke and I realized that our MBA students, even if they were passionate about climate change, they weren't necessarily always making the connection between climate change and the risks and opportunities it was going to present to their business careers. So we began having a conversation about how we could communicate climate change, not as a personal or philanthropic or extracurricular interest, but one that is materially relevant to all business leaders now and in the future. And we began by hosting a summit, which has now become an annual event called the ClimateCAP MBA Summit. Today we have about 400 plus MBA students from all kinds of different schools around the world attend the annual summit. The most recent one was held at the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business, and the 2025 summit is coming up at the end of February. Will be hosted by Berkeley's Haas School of Business. So the summit itself is open to any MBA student anywhere, but not to alumni, not to undergrads, not to students in other disciplines. It's specifically for MBA students, current MBA students, to come learn, meet their peers, learn about the business implications of climate change. Since we began the ClimateCAP initiative, which is a partner initiative, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a minute, we have also added some additional programming. So knowing that not every MBA student can come to the summit, we have launched an online virtual learning program called the ClimateCAP MBA Academy. Those are webinars. They happen about monthly during the academic year. They are aimed at an MBA student audience, but anyone can register for them. So those are where alumni or others can hop on, but the speakers, we ask them to speak to the MBA student audience. We have videos of all the past Academy speakers on our website. There's some really great ones, and we have already been lining up speakers for the fall. So I would encourage you to take a look at the recordings of those in case they are things you'd like to share with your students, and or you'd like to vet them as potential speakers for your own events at your schools, or you can imagine showing them in a classroom or as an extracurricular event too. And lastly, we have a deeper dive program that it has room for only 12 students a year, but it's called the ClimateCAP MBA Fellowship. And in the fall, we will be announcing a call for applications. These are students who really want to go deep on climate and would participate in a year-long fellowship beginning January and ending in the end of the next year calendar year in December. Those students learn from each other, they hear from speakers, they participate in workshops and interactive exercises, and they also lead a climate project of their choosing. So there's more to come on that front as well. Next slide. I want to touch on a couple of our resources for educators. So in a moment, I'll tell you about how to become a partner school, but ClimateCAP is a partnership. Right now we have 44 business schools involved and are looking to expand. Most of our partners have historically been in the US based on where we had sort of our starting networks, but we definitely invite educators and schools from around the world to join us. And we are looking at ways to extend our programming to be more accessible to international audiences as well. In terms of what we actually do with educators right now, our partner schools, we do have a listserv where our faculty and staff from our partner schools are connected, and we hold calls roughly every other month throughout the year to discuss some of our challenges and best practices and ideas on teaching climate at our respective schools. We also hold in-person workshops at the summit, and we share resources with each other through our partner, our educator network listserv. Next slide. So this is not all of our partner schools. We do, as I mentioned, have 44 business school partners. It is free to join as a partner. So if your school is interested, the main criteria are it needs to be, you need to have an MBA program. It's the MBA program that's committing. You need to have a faculty or staff person who's willing to be the point of contact. And you need to agree to lend us your logo. It can be either your school logo or your center logo, and to promote ClimateCAP activities to your students. Those are the only requirements. If you'd like an MOU, we can sign one. We have a template. If you'd like to just sign on, lend us a name and a logo. We can add you to our list of partner schools pretty much right away. We do have 2 additional tiers that we call our supporting partners and our leading partners. And those are schools that have put in financial support, and that helps us pay for the ongoing operation of the ClimateCAP initiative. So the schools listed here are ones that have contributed financially, and they also receive some additional benefits like early access to student tickets for the summit and a few other events. So the takeaway is there is more that if you'd like to go deeper with us as a partner, you can, but if you just like to join on as a partner, there's no financial commitment required. And then my last slide, I'll just share with you very quickly how to get involved. For starters, you might want to subscribe to our mailing list. We do have a newsletter that we put out about once a month. We love to share resources from all of your schools as well as ours, and we give updates about what activities are happening. We have a LinkedIn group that we invite you to follow as well. So we'd invite both you and your students to join our mailing list. We would invite you to check out this MBA Academy video series and other resources that we have published on our website in case they are relevant to your teaching or to your students. And then we invite you to consider joining us as a partner school. I've given you again here Jessica Wingard's contact info if you'd like to discuss partnerships or you have other questions. Of course, I'll be in the World Cafe breakout rooms as well, so happy to answer questions there and just really glad to be connected. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Katie. Can confirm we heard amazing things about the summit last year, so would definitely recommend getting involved. So next we're going to hear from GRONEN, so I'll pass it over to Javier.
Hi, everyone. My name is Javier Delgado Ceballos. I'm Professor of Management and Corporate Sustainability from University of Granada in sunny Spain, which is already 30 degrees over here. So enjoying the good weather. I'm very happy to be the representative of GRONEN in this important conversation we are having today. Please, next one. GRONEN is well, it's an international network of scholars. Most of us are based in Europe. I would say 70%. The rest of the 30% will be mostly the States and Canada. Indeed, our new president is from the States. The thing is that we organize a conference every 2 years. The last location were Amsterdam, Paris, and then 2026 will be in Barcelona. And in Amsterdam, 4 years ago, we realized that there were many people who were very interested on teaching. Even though we are scholars, we are also educators on teaching, on sustainability. So we decided to create a green teaching team. And since then, we started to do many things in the last 2 years. Please, next one. Well, basically, we organized that PDW in Amsterdam. Then we have created some professional development workshops online. And then we had we organized a small conference on teaching sustainability for 1 day and a half in Germany last October. And then we are thinking about right now with the new president about how we're gonna share all these resources with all our community. This next one. Just to give you a flavor of what we're doing, for example, in Amsterdam, our idea was like to bring some methodologies. For example, we have we learned how to use some simulations about change management in the sustainability context, which was great, and indeed myself using it now. We also did one of the speaker taught us how to do some gains to implement SDGs in the organization. Was excellent indeed from Japan indeed. Then in the middle, we were talking about for 1 day and a half about teaching. We did not expect like we were like 50 people over there, and people wanted to talk instead of listening. And we were doing many roundtables and sharing our ideas and approaches. And then next one, please. And then just to give you another example, last month in Paris, we did a PW, and our idea was to learn from top scholars, from top educators about how to teach to managers. We had the director of the Bocconi MBA, and also we have Pasquale Berrone from IES. They both have a lot of experience in teaching with managers, so it was great to learn from them how to encourage managers to implement a new plan from the beginning, or how to use some specific simulations, how to use it, how to change your language from from students to managers. And also we learned from some of your colleagues from Innovation North in Ivy how to collaborate with managers, because sometimes it's also our next step. If you're a scholar, we also did that with our colleagues from my colleagues in University of Granada, how to pick the proper partner, how to spread stability within the organization and within the university. Next, please. Well, so far it's still free to join GRONEN. I really encourage you to do it. We try to be small, but we are getting bigger and bigger because it's an excellent community. People are very nice, and we have the feeling we want to talk more about teaching. We are thinking about what we're gonna do next year for teaching. We are thinking about artificial intelligence and how to use it in the classroom. But well, still free, so hope you will join us. Okay, so thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Javier. So next we're going to hear from Open Climate Curriculum. So I will pass it over to Bruce and Lauren.
Thanks. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with everyone. I'm Bruce Usher, and my colleague Lauren Wesley is on with me as well. And the two of us are leading this initiative called Open Climate Curriculum, which is an initiative led by Columbia Business School, where I'm a faculty member and co-director of the Teamer Institute for Social Enterprise and Climate Change. As you'll see from the presentation, though, although this initiative is led and funded by Columbia Business School, it's not a Columbia Business School branded initiative. It's really an open source initiative. Let me, if we could just flip to the next slide. Thanks very much. The whole concept here is, which was created about 1.5 years ago. I'll give you a timeline in a second. I'll show you that. The concept here is relatively straightforward. The idea being that educators at business schools are increasingly tasked with teaching climate change because of student demand and because of the necessity of addressing climate change globally. It's a very complex subject. It's a global subject, and it's a rapidly changing subject, and one which most educators don't have a great deal of background in, which makes it a challenging subject to teach, frankly. And the concept was that instead of us each individually creating our own courses and our own course material, our teaching material, our notes, our slides, and everything that goes with teaching a business school course, that perhaps if we shared our materials, we could do more faster. And really the key here is the faster part, the accelerate part, because as people know, work on climate change, that the real issue is a timing one. We need to graduate more of our students to go out and tackle the issue, and the faster we do that, the better hope we have of avoiding climate catastrophe. So about a little over a year ago, we brought together a group of faculty from 6 schools, ourselves, HBS, Wharton, Berkeley, MIT, Duke. there's one more, so I forget off the top of my head, to come into a room and just say, you know, how do we feel about sharing? And the reception we received was very positive, that the faculty are very keen on sharing on this area. And so we kicked this off. One thing I should mention at this point is at the moment, the Open Climate Curriculum Initiatives is just for business school faculty. We are going to be opening up to faculty at other schools of higher learning, law schools, policy schools, and even undergraduate institutions, simply because a lot of the materials are very, very similar, and we all have a lot to gain from sharing those materials. But this is entirely faculty focused. It's not a tool available to students. Next slide, please. So the platform that we developed provides materials to share in really 4 areas, but primarily just one, that's elective courses. So a number of schools, including Columbia, have climate lessons embedded into our core courses. So we're sharing some materials around that. There's elective courses, which I'll talk about in a minute. There's cases that we're sharing now. These are case links and abstracts. In fact, the cases themselves at this point are not yet freely available. I should mention, by the way, the platform and everything on it is both open source and free. There's no charge, no cost to anyone. The cases, however, we're hoping to make some of the cases free access, but at the moment, that's something beyond our control. And then, you know, there's executive education that we can share materials on. So most of what we found interested in from faculty is around elective courses, and starting with course syllabi, sharing material, sharing syllabi that are available to faculty. So that's how we started. We basically just reached out to faculty and said, would you be willing to share your syllabi with each other? That was the starting point. And as we worked through this last summer and started to collect syllabi, and as you see, you'll see in a minute, I'm going to give you some data. We have about 100 climate course syllabi collected so far. We also started to realize that we could do more than that, which brings me to our next slide, please. And what we found was that we could incorporate AI, the buzzword of the moment in education. But actually, we found that AI could be really helpful here. And what we learned was that the challenge with AI tools like ChatGPT and other models are they gather too much information from too many sources that are unreliable. So if you use AI today to create teaching material, you will find that the information you gather is highly unreliable, and the output therefore is highly unreliable. And while useful, it's not ideal for teaching. Going forward, what most organizations are now starting to do is use AI in a very constrained way. In other words, by the AI only uses the material that we give it. So we know what the inputs are to our AI engine. By restricting that, we can keep the quality much higher. We know what's going into it. And therefore, the output is much higher quality. So the inputs are controlled by the OpenCC community, for example, our core syllabi. The AI is obviously not our AI, and we use a number of different tools, including ChatGPT, and you can select essentially what kind of AI to use. And the output can be in any language. In fact, the input can be in any language as well. So one of the great advantages of OpenAI of the Open Climate Curriculum for a global topic like climate change is we're essentially language agnostic, which allows us to share a lot more material and use a lot more output more collaboratively. I will say the AI tool is very much under development at this point. It's certainly operational, it works, but it's of limited value at this point. It needs a lot more input material, a lot more tech development that we're working on right now. Next page. So let me give just an example. This is the tool that works today. And if we have more time, I'd give a demo. But just to give you an example here, into the AI tool, which we call ClimateCAP, if you type in, could you develop a graduate level climate finance core reading list, including a couple of climate justice readings, it'll spit out something like the below. Now, most educators in climate change could find this material on their own, but the AI really saves educators time. Essentially, that's what it's there for. It's not telling you these are the materials you have to use. It's giving you a list of what's what it recommends. Where does it get this from? It gets this from other educators. In other words, this is not like OpenAI, which or ChatGPT that collects it from anywhere. This is collecting it from the materials that have been submitted by other educators. So in that sense, we believe it's a much better response for educators, much more useful and much higher quality. If you could flip the next slide. I just got, I think, 2 more slides for you very briefly. The timing of this, I mentioned, we started about a year ago. This proof of concept stools got together to talk about this. We launched a prototype at COP28 in Dubai with a bunch of educators, primarily from Europe and the Middle East, and got their feedback, which was very positive, and also including the translation tool. We've had a lot of interest from the media. There's some interesting article in Financial Times, and NPR's Marketplace did a little piece on it. Which brings us to today, and where we are today is we're getting a lot of interest in this platform, but it needs a lot more work. And so this summer we have a team of MBA students and some technologists working on the platform functionality, and also reaching out to educators all over the world to get their feedback. What is their sort of pain points in teaching climate change, and how can this platform and the AI technology help address some of those? Going forward, we will have a Climate Week event here in New York City. If you will be in New York City in late September and come into Climate Week, we would love to have you attend the event and learn more about what we're doing and get your feedback and participation. And then again, we will be participating at COP29 in Azerbaijan to further roll out the functionality of the platform at that time. Next slide. I think this is just about our last slide here. Just where we are today, we have 375 platform users on it. About 150 of those are educators. To join the platform is quite easy. You basically register, and then we confirm that you in fact are with a institution of higher learning, and then you're on it. Those 375 are with 180 institutions of higher learning. At this point, the majority are from US and then Europe and Canada. We are really focused on increasing representation in the rest of the world. I just got back from a trip to China, met with a number of faculty in Shanghai and Shenzhen, and there's much interest there. And then, as I mentioned, we're starting to collect course syllabi and the like. Last slide, please. So we need your help. We would love for you to, if you haven't already, to join it. Just go to openclimatecurriculum.org and you just register. It takes about 24 hours to approve you, which simply means that you're, again, with a university or college. We love if you contribute materials and provided feedback to us. That's really helpful. And share with your colleagues, both in your institution or others you know elsewhere. And you can reach out to myself or Lauren at any time if you have questions. And that's what we have for you today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Bruce and Lauren. It's really such an exciting resource. So thanks for sharing, and we're excited to see where it goes.
Thanks.
So before we go to our last 2 presentations, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about NBS and more about what we offer in case some of you haven't been aware so far. So at NBS, our mission is to share knowledge on business sustainability. And so we do that in a variety of different ways. We work with an international network of scholars and also business leaders to help create open access content that can enable practical action. And we also facilitate opportunities like this one today for sustainability change makers to connect with one another and increase their collective capacity for impact. So NBS was founded in 2008 or 5 by Tima Bansal, and it's now led by Yuri Andres. We are officially housed at the Ivey Business School, which is in Canada, but we work with people all around the world to collaborate on these materials and activities. So now I'll dig into some of our specific activities that can support you in teaching sustainability. So first, I'll start with our resource library. So for decades, NBS has been producing these short articles, as well as some videos and podcasts, graphics, that type of content. And these cover a whole wide range of sustainability topics, all the way from sustainable finance and social justice, and many things in between. So at this point, we have around 900 different resources on our website. And some of them are more overviews of sustainability fundamentals. So things like what is the circular economy or climate change. And then others are more specific. They might unpack a specific research paper or be more of a how-to type practical piece of content. So we've created all of these resources mostly with an audience of sustainability practitioners in mind, so like managers, but along the way, we've also learned that they're really helpful for educators as well. So they're often used in pre-reading materials or by students even in projects and things like that. So if you were looking to find the right materials to add to your course, these are all available for free on our website, and you can use our search function to try and find a topic if there's one specifically that you're looking for. We also have a lot of different filters that help narrow down this library towards specific topics. But also, if there's something that you're looking for and you can't find it, we always encourage you to reach out to our team, and either we can point you in the right direction or add it to our kind of running list of different topics we might cover in the future. And then looking on the right side of our slide here, outside our resources focused on sustainability topics, we also provide a bunch that are focused on researchers and educators specifically, so written for this audience. So within that, we have a whole section on teaching, and these materials are videos or articles where educators have shared with us their specific tips and tricks or specific approaches that they use for teaching. So those are all available on the website as well. And then next slide, Chelsea. So we also, outside of our resources and materials, we host a lot of different programming that can support teaching as well. So we facilitate something called the Sustainability Centers community, which many people in this room are part of. But for those who aren't, it's a community of around 200 different sustainability centers at business schools around the world. And this group shares knowledge on a variety of topics, including things like research and outreach and center operations, but also teaching as well. And we found that over the last couple of years, there's really been a lot of energy in the group around curriculum and curriculum change, hence how we've started the climate series and other things that focus on that area. So we have an online directory of the centers that are engaged in this network, and members who are part of it connect via email listserv and also in-person and virtual events. But we also host some events that are meant for a broader audience of educators, like this one, which is part of our recent series on teaching climate. So if you haven't had the chance yet to join into that series and take part, I do encourage you to check out our website, and you can find all the recordings of past sessions and also the materials and extra resources that presenters have shared throughout the series. So those are available for anyone to use and specifically address how to teach climate topics in business schools. However, we do find that as much as the recordings are useful, some of the real magic that comes from hosting and having these events is really about joining in person and getting the chance to connect with other people and learn from one another in real time. So in terms of how you can join these types of events in the future, Chelsea, if you go, yes, perfect. There's a variety of different ways that you can stay up to date with what NBS is doing. So we really encourage you to sign up to our newsletters. So we have the Researcher Update. That's where we share our events that are meant for researchers and educators, but we also share other events that other groups are putting on for that audience there as well, along with other types of opportunities and resources that are useful. So that comes out usually monthly. And then we also have the network newsletter, which is another monthly one. And this one's more focused on the first type of content that I talked about. So the ones that are on specific sustainability topics and targeted more at managers and also students. But this is a good way to stay on top of what we're producing that you can eventually incorporate in your courses if you're interested. And then if you are part of a sustainability center at your business school, but you're not yet involved with the SDC, we would love to have you. So you can first check the directory online and see if your center is engaged. And if it's not, it's just a simple form for you to fill out to be able to join. And it's free to join as well. And then, of course, access our resources on the website, all free to use. Let us know if you can't find something. And you can follow us on LinkedIn as well. So thank you so much for listening. And I'm going to pass it over now to the Prime I5 team. So that's Meredith and Samantha.
Abby, quick question. I know Yuri's on the line and he's going to be chatting with people in the breakouts. Yuri, did you want to like maybe just unmute really quickly and give everybody a hello and a wave so they know who they'll encounter in the World Cafe?
Hello, everyone. My name is Yuri. I know many of you, but I look forward to meet a few more. And thank you, Abby, for organizing and putting us all in a room so that we can create connections and build capacity. Thank you.
Wonderful. Good call, Chelsea. Thanks. Over to the primers.
All right, thank you, Abby. And I really appreciate where we are in this agenda too, because I feel like I've heard a lot, especially from the MBS team right there, and Bruce before that, about what is available from a resources perspective, that there are opportunities to deepen your understanding of what it is that you can bring to your classroom and what you can bring to your students. And Abby, you did say how you teach can be found on your resources as well, but I think that we complement that a step further with the I5 project to go into how your pedagogy is developed, how you approach the classroom as an individual. So at the Prime I5, what it is that we work through is kind of pedagogical, a bit of curriculum development, a lot of the teaching experience is what we work to uncover. If you don't know Prime, we are 841 signatories around the world with a secretariat office where we work hard to make sure that opportunities, connections, all of those kind of things are facilitated through our umbrella in the United Nations, through the UN Global Compact. So we were founded in 2007 by Ban Ki-moon, the then Secretary General. And through our history moving forward, we're now operating in 96 countries. I think I believe I said it, but I got the statistic this morning. So it's 841 signatories. Very happy to be seeing that growth over time. And we have working groups, we have chapters, we have champions around the world. And through the I5 project, we've been lucky, you can see on the screen, that we're able to focus our efforts not just about being a network for connection. There are lots of networks, and our network always kind of served as a bridge to connect those in different chapters, those with different specialized interest in working groups, etc. But we never said, all right, but what are you doing in your classroom that works for you? Let's take that moment to reflect and learn and engage. So the I5 project came together. It stands for Impactful 5, which is based on research done on early childhood development, pedagogy of play, and learning through play from the LEGO Foundation. We were lucky enough to receive a $6 million grant from the LEGO Foundation 2 years ago. We're in year 3 with a year 4 right in front of us now. And we've been lucky to be developing and piloting these skills that are based on hypotheses that had withstood the test of time for learning through play in younger under 18s. When we bring it to the business school community, many of you are aware that research that you come to business school with the eagerness to improve, the eagerness to learn for yourself, to make the world a better place, but you leave business school with that accounting class still noodling in the back of your head and thinking, I've got to go get a job and improve the bottom line. So what we work to do is to make sure that the mind shift change of students and even of educators is kind of held to a more creative standard, a more playful, joyful, meaningful standard, while still adhering to business school curriculum and to the sustainable development goals that we see being embedded here. So, like I said, Prime has a very large community component to it. I'm lucky enough that Samantha Thompson from my team is joining me here today. I also see Sophie Konski's in the room, and even Chandrika Parmar, who is our India representative, who was part of our original pilot. So there are Prime people all over that have gone through this, and I don't think I'll be the only one able to speak to this in the World Cafe. So if we can go to the next slide there. Thank you. This is the framework. So it's almost like inputs and outputs, but we test each one and we build resources around each one and we listen to community members about what's working for each one. So meaningful, joyful, social, active, and iterative are all distilled from what the LEGO research said. Those are the inputs that we talk about. And there's additional skills that we look to measure in the outputs of what the students can develop from interactions in the classroom that adhere to these criteria. But even more, perhaps at the stage that we're at, growth within the educator is something that was kind of an unintended consequence of this project, that challenging your educators, those in your network, those in your department, to be joyful in the classroom. What does that mean for an economics classroom? What does that mean for a marketing classroom? What does that mean for a tenured professor who's been doing the same thing for ages and ages, or a PhD student with teaching duties who's starting out with no identity? Everyone kind of brings their own baggage to the classroom, but it's our right and privilege here to be able to listen to these people and to learn from them and to connect them with stories of good practice. So what we've taken from the I5 project is a number of interventions around each of these characteristics, and we've turned them into resources and opportunities for future engagement. Next slide, please. So one of the major resources that I'll touch on quickly, but Sam will go through some of the other ones towards the end, is we have a playbook that talks through what each of these looks like. It was written by the Harvard Graduate School of Education in collaboration with PRIME and the Sustainability Literacy Test out of Marseille. But that kind of gives you the Bible for what it is you can follow in order to understand what we might mean when we say meaning or joyful. It does mean different things in different contexts. It does mean different things as you internalize them, but there's, of course, different ways that we can unite in the same fashion. So beyond that, we have this view book. The view book looks to take the stories that we can learn from each other. Chandrika has stories in there from her own practice that I'm sure we can share after. But it's so wonderful to be able to see how lessons from classroom pedagogy, how lessons of personal pedagogy and development come together. And the one thing you say, well, PRIME's concerned with business schools and LEGO's concerned with play, and we're all concerned with the SDGs. Like, that is the common ground here, is giving people permission to go into the classroom, maybe to teach a challenging climate curriculum where they feel like they might be on the back foot with students that have pressured questions. They don't need to come with 6 readings and sending the kids home with just that and then have them come back and challenge you. There are ways in your classroom that you can build the trust, you can build the experience, build the engagement. Many of you are probably already doing this, which is wonderful and delightful and something that we hope to learn from ourselves. So happy to be connecting here and hoping to learn those stories today. But we're also here to enable and equip and help share and listen to those who might be learning some other things. And not everyone's perfect at all 5 characteristics too, so it's a nice balance there. Next slide, please. Perfect. Thank you. I can talk through this a little bit and then Sam, I'll pass to you, but just that we do have a number of resources that go through. We have the playbook and the data story. That the playbook I spoke to before, but the data story has been worked on with a group called Polygraph/Pudding and the Data Face. They are lovely visual data storytellers. So it kind of conceptualizes why we're here, not just because play is nice. The view book, which you saw on the previous slide, the I5 introductory workshops where you can learn in a half-hour, hour, or 2-hour-long slot what it is that we're doing here. In listening to the community for the last couple of years, we know that certification is an important component. We were hesitant to issue certificates at the start, but as we've learned more and more about the process, we've been able to move from there. And then a toolbox so that individuals can engage. Next slide, please. How to get involved. Sam, please.
Yeah, and just to note a couple of things that you can do if you're interested in learning about some of these teaching practices. The very first way you can get involved, and this is for anyone, you don't have to be a PRIME signatory, is to attend one of our introductory workshops. We're lucky enough to have these educators that have been piloting with us for the past 2 years who are now leading these workshops. So you'll get to hear examples from the classroom of best practices, dive into each characteristic, and learn how you can really apply those in your classroom and not just on the page. So they're really fun. They're really interactive. So I recommend that you attend if you are interested. Our next one is July 27th. So it's coming up in a few weeks and you can access that through the QR code. We'll put it back up on the screen here in a second. And then secondly, as Meredith mentioned, we are now offering certificates. So a deep dive into I-5 is really our intention. And we, of course, want everyone to have a general overview, but the real teaching practice comes from these deep engagement opportunities. So we've designed the certificate of engagement to touch on 4 different themes, each with the intent to have the I-5 overview, but dive deep into one specific aspect where that could fit in your specific teaching practices. So those session topics include student engagement, leadership, building a community of practice, and research. And on the final slide, you'll see those resources available again. I recommend you scan that QR code. There's an opportunity that you can sign up for our mailing list on the QR code as well to stay informed about upcoming events and opportunities. And we periodically update the UN Prime website so that you can see new events and new opportunities. It's unprime.org. And please come visit us if you have any other questions. We'd love to connect with you further.
Amazing. Thank you both.
Thanks, Abby.
And just a reminder for everyone, we will share the slides afterwards, so you can access the links and QR codes and everything later on as well. So with that, we will invite up, last but not least, Clementine from Sustainability in Academia.
Yes, thank you so much, Abby, for the introduction. So the idea today is for me to speak about this Sustainability in Academia resource platform that is being co-created by different partners. So I'm speaking on behalf of many other people working as well on this platform. A few of them are here in the room as well. And we will have the time to explore more during the breakouts, during the World Cafe. If it's possible to go to the next slide, please, so I can share a little bit about the goal of this platform. So really, the goal is to accompany faculty in their journey to further integrate sustainability into their course. And when we talk about sustainability, we talk about all the dimensions of sustainability, and we base ourselves on the SDG Wedicake model from the Stockholm Resilience Center, where you have all the elements interconnected, so the environment, the society, and the economy all together. So that's something very important for us on that platform, is to find all those different elements presented. And the idea is not to reinvent the wheel at all, and I will explain you in a minute how we do build on what already exists out there. So the target group of this platform, basically, it's the faculty, as I mentioned before, can be the ones who are just starting. They just want to know how they can integrate sustainability into their class, whatever their discipline. Or they can also be advanced faculty who want to have new innovative methods and want to integrate that into their courses. At the same time, it's important for us to also target any supporting teams within higher education institutions, teams who are focusing on curriculum development, so they can use that platform as a resource to share with their faculty and accompany their faculty in their own institution. And as well, we think of students who can develop and co-create curriculum and courses with their faculty, or improve whatever courses they are taking by sharing new resource materials with their faculty. So it brings really this constructive collaboration between students and faculty. So as I mentioned, we have a few partners working on this. It's so WWF Switzerland, it's also the Network for Business Sustainability, so NBS here, and the University of St. Gallen, for which I work. So please, the next slide, thank you. So yeah, the idea of sustainability in academia is that there were a lot of resources out there, and a lot of faculty were asking us which one is of quality and which one is actually useful. So it was really hard for them to identify the appropriate resource to their specific course. It was kind of a jigsaw for them. So there are a lot of resources, a lot of platforms out there, and the idea of the Sustainability in Academia platform is to be an entry door to make this process easier. So maybe we can move to the next slide, please. Thank you. And so here we see actually that that's the landing page, basically. And we see that it's an entry door with different types of knowledge that and resources that is being put here. So you have a general knowledge, business education, that's what we started with, and some learning methods as well. And what we would like to do later is to open it to other field of studies. So we try to be as transparent as possible, and I will explain how we do that in a moment. What is also very important for us, it's the quality over quantity. And I will also explain in a moment how we ensure that. Can we move to the next slide, please? So as I said, it's an entry door, an entry point to navigate existing resources. So there are different materials to explore on different sustainability related topics, also learning methods, as I mentioned, and we are also very interested in trends and interdisciplinarity. So we try to showcase that on the platform. Then it's very important also for us, this quality aspect. And so we go through a peer review feedback loop process to make sure it is happening. So we pre-select the material, and then we get faculty to review that before it comes on the platform. And in the end, it's very interactive and collaborative, because we can have comments on the platform. Faculty can rate as well the materials. They can signal if something is not proper. And there are also some webinars offered via NBS. And then obviously we integrate faculty into the development of content by sharing existing content and also reviewing the module. What is key to this platform is that it's actually linking different platforms together, right? Because the materials come from what is out there online already. So the idea is then to make sure faculty using this platform can connect with what is out there, and so the existing platform. So we have a part that is called related platform, where faculty can dive into in more detail according to the specificity of each platform out there. So that's those are some of the features that we offer on this platform. And if we can move to the next slide, please. We can see that they are next again. We can see there are different content materials. So in the content materials, again, next slide, please. They are written documents, but there are also videos, there are podcasts, case studies, simulation series, games, and diverse exercises. So you can find a lot of different types that can be integrated in different types of courses as well. Can we move to the next slide, please? So I was talking about quality over quantity. Those are the different steps related to how we select the material, but we will go into more details related to that process in the breakout rooms during the World Cafe. Can we move to the next slide, please? So those are the different content categories. So that's for general topics. We try to have different aspects of basic topics and advanced topics. So we try really to put the materials that we find in different categories, so it's easier for faculty to find what is needed for them. We will go into more details as well in the breakouts. So in the next slide, we also have here content related to business education. And as you can see, we have general topics for business education, but also the disciplines and industries. So we again categorize materials. And the last slides on the categorization is about the learning methods. So we have the outcomes, the different methods, what we want to foster in our courses, but also how do we assess the students at the end according to which competencies we want to assess. So that's for the different categories. On the next slide, we show here a little bit more how it looks like when you click on one material. So the idea is to have in one glimpse everything that is related to this content to see whether it's useful or not for the faculty and their class. So it's about, as I said, rating, it's about how to use, and it's connected to the material where you can open the link. We don't host anything. We are not the owners of anything. So here, for example, for the trade-off game, it's Financial Times who created it. It's them who are obviously the owner of that, and you can see the dates when has been updated on our platform to make sure that it is still relevant. There we have also related materials, so you can connect the different materials that are out there on the platform, and then there is a comment section where people can share how they are using this course in their courses, these materials are in their courses, and then can be positive, negative comments, but always constructive. So we are moderating that to make sure that happens in that way. So that's for how we display the materials, and that's how we envision the future of the platform, as well as to go into other field of studies and link them with each other, right? To have more of this interdisciplinarity. And on the next slide, we would like to ask you to help us to help you, basically. And we're going to go in more detail in the World Cafe how that can be done. But basically, you can contribute by reviewing the different content material before it comes on the platform. You can share content that you already have or use in your classroom, so we can link that. And at the same time, we would like some help with the user experience, because for now it's just the beta version. We need to improve it a lot, and we need your support to do that the best way possible, so it fits really your needs. So we have a form for that in case you're interested in one of the three. But as I said, we will also work on this in the World Cafe. So on the last slide, you can see that we are several working on this. If you have any questions, we want to collaborate with any platform out there to build on synergies, and also with any faculty, so we can really answer the needs that are out there. So Fabio, Mara, Avi, and I are here today in the session, and Mara will be the one leading and facilitating the World Cafe from our side today. So thanks a lot, and I hope we'll be able to collaborate soon.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Clementine. And thank you to everyone of the presenters for sharing your important and useful work with everyone. I think it's great to get everything out on the table. And yeah, thanks as well in the chat for the suggestion of putting together a table to kind of summarize all of this. I think that'll be really useful too. So now we're going to move into the more interactive portion of this event. So that's the World Cafe. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us again. Let people join. Great. Well, I hope you've all had some interesting conversations. I know that each room was a bit short, but hopefully enough time to at least connect with some of the other educators and yeah, continue the learning from the presentations. And yeah, we hope that the event overall so far has helped everyone start to see new ways of tapping into the existing resources that can support all of your work. But for this final panel, we wanted to step back a little bit and look at the ecosystem of organizations a little bit more broadly. Are there gaps? Are there synergies, lessons that we can learn from one another? And so to close the event today, we're going to ask each of the group leaders to reflect on what they've heard today from each other and from the rooms, and to share back any ideas that have emerged, whether for their own organization or the broader ecosystem of teaching support. So these questions on the screen are going to be prompts, but we'll hear a range of reflections. And with the time left, we have around 3 minutes for each group leader to share. So if you don't mind, Katie, we can start again with you.
Abby, do you want me to leave the slide up while people speak, or do you want me to take it down to make the videos bigger?
We can take it down, but if anyone needs a refresher, we can put them in the chat as well.
Perfect. Let's do that. I'll drop them in there now.
I really enjoyed my 2 short conversations with everyone. So I hope it's just the start of a conversation that's longer. I think I'll pick up on one thread that we were just starting to talk about in our last room. And that is, I think what I hear from a lot of educators is that they could use very brief intros to a lot of the resources that exist. So Maya and I were just talking in another room about, for instance, today's session, each of our 10-minute presentations, would it be valuable to actually have them as short, separate individual short videos that are no more than 10 minutes, and that we could then share just one by one with educators. Same with other tools that have been presented by NBS. We at ClimateCAP are interested in helping to spread the word about any teaching tools, education resources, case studies, simulations that would be useful to our educator members as well as our students. So finding ways to do that in a very efficient way, collaborating with, obviously, with Bruce Usher and the team at Columbia, as well as Prime, would be great at figuring out ways that we can present this in the easiest and most accessible way possible for our faculty and students. I think would be a really valuable resource.
Yeah, I love that. And that's something we can definitely do. Just chop them up and have videos that everyone can use one by one. It's great. Javier, anything you would add or learned?
Sorry, they're changing the elevator and they're making a lot of noise right now. If I can skip, sorry about that.
No worries at all. We'll go to Yuri instead.
So I learned lots of things. I believe that we need to create a theory of change where each one of us, of these 5+ organizations that are developing and the solutions that are proposing, are very clear about what are the needs that they tackle and how they complement each other. Because what I heard from some of the attendees today is that sometimes there are no economic incentives or incentives in general at their schools to do more work. In fact, they have to sort of create pressure bottom up. So if there could be someone within this network that is better positioned to have conversations with deans and leaders, perhaps Prime is the best position to put pressure on that specific leverage point. MBS could be working with instructors in the global north and global south and connecting them to materials that already exist and try to create a more global perspective on certain issues. ClimateCAP can be working more on graduate courses. So St. Gallen and the WWF initiative could be making all these materials available. So I think that one of my takeaways from the conversations I had is a better understanding of the main functions that each of our organizations could fulfill and how they together move the needle on the system.
Very cool. Well, that's definitely the goal. And I hope everyone's been able to get some more understanding of what each other are doing as well. And on the deans, I do feel like I remember some letter signing initiative at some point that happened. So it could be, yeah, I like that idea as well. Javier, are you ready now, or do you want?
Hopefully it will be fine. Sorry about that, guys. Well, what my main takeaway is, like, it's amazing what you're doing, guys, and there's so many materials, so many things we can grab and learn. Sometimes one of the conversation I was having with in some of the breakups groups was like, we have limited time, so sometimes we need to think about how to allocate our all this splendid information, how to be, like, has to be easy to find it. But also what we're trying to do in GRONEN, I think will be a great initiative, is how to use these materials. Sometimes it's not about, it's not about the simulation itself. It's about how you use the simulation, the follow-up. So I think that could be a great idea to have some workshops about the specific issues or methods, materials, to teach how to use them in the classroom. I would go that for definitely. Anyway, thanks. It's been great. I learned a lot myself. I'm taking notes. I will. Thanks again.
Thank you. Yeah, the how-to point kind of reminds me of what I5 and Prime are doing as well. So maybe we'll go to you all next.
Thanks, Abby. to overshare to begin with, I have a reoccurring nightmare when I get nervous about being in high school and not being able to open my locker combination and spending the whole dream just running around without this combination. And I think being in the 5-minute breakout groups, answering a Q&A, and having so much that I wanted to get across in 5 minutes and to learn who was in the audience, and then to kind of be pulled away mid-sentence, always, it feels like the same reoccurring nightmare where I just want to make sure you knew what was going on. And Abby, I don't mean that as a criticism at all. I mean that as a strength of who's in this room right now, because the questions and the interest and every breakout room was different for us. Like there were some that we talked about Prime, there were some that we talked about I-5, there was some that we talked about motivation, and it just changed and it changed and it changed. And it's so wonderful. It just gives the very obvious need for personal connection and the need to grow these things together, that it's not good enough to say, come join us and you'll be great. No, it's how can this work for you and how can this work for your institution? So I really appreciate how so many of the presentations today did kind of do a very step-by-step understanding, because it lets us see where we can work together and it lets us see where some of these overlaps are. So just thank you for all of that. And I'll put my email in the chat because I do feel like there were so many half sentences that I got out. So thank you all for your patience with me as I kind of powered through there. Yes.
Thank you for that. And thank you for powering through the nightmare. Yeah, we know that the 5 minutes can be short, and it's great to know that there's some appetite from people in the room to be having these conversations. And yeah, that encourages us to continue hosting them as well. Okay, 2 more. Maybe we'll go to Clementine next.
Yes, thanks, Abby. Yeah, so it was really interesting to hear all those different platforms. And what we've heard a lot in the breakouts is that it's overwhelming because we're looking for all those resources, and then all of a sudden we get them all in different ways and from different platforms, and how does that work? So I think that's something we can work on. I already had conversations previously with Meredith, Bruce. I attended the GRONEN workshop session last fall, and so the idea would be really to find a way to make it less overwhelming for people. And I like your idea, Yuri, that is really maybe to have this table somehow comparing and at the same time sharing the main functions. So then it's easy in one glimpse to really see, okay, what is for me actually, what I think is the most useful to me as a faculty would like to bring sustainability into my course. So maybe something we could explore all together. So I think it's a lot of digestions that we need to do, and collaboration. So it's maybe a call for all of us to, we're into different sessions, into different breakouts, so we're not able to exchange among ourselves within the different, people co-creating those different platforms. So it would maybe nice to have a follow-up with us so we can have this conversation as well together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point, and definitely something that we're open to hosting. Yuri, you want to add, and then we'll go to Bruce as last.
I just wanted to say quickly that I think this has been an organic process where different groups self-organized around different needs. And I believe that each one of these groups have now acquired momentum and put in place some foundations. And probably it's the right time now where we can connect the dots between these different initiatives in a way that is more meaningful. Maybe doing it sooner wouldn't have been possible because we were too focused in building the foundations, but now we are getting to a point where we absolutely should. So I just wanted to reinforce that message.
Yeah, I love it. And Bruce.
So I don't want to repeat what others have said because it was very similar in all the breakout rooms, the feedback we got. Mostly around, the confusion of materials that are out there. And I like the idea of ClimateCAP can help, for everyone sort of organize that. That's super helpful. Also questions around the confusion around AI more broadly, how to use AI tools, how to apply to education, asking for feedback on that, which is a very complicated issue because I think it's very much a work in progress around a set of tools that are extraordinarily complex, but also will be, whether we like it or not, an important part of education going forward. And I actually think in a very positive way. I thought the feedback questions were super helpful and really appreciate being able to participate in this. So thank you. I'm gonna have to step off just 1 minute, but I just want to say thanks to all.
Oh, great. Well, thanks again for joining. And thank you to everyone for joining in and both sharing the resources that we have available now and thinking about how we can all improve them in the future. So that's the end of our event today, but just a quick few housekeeping notes on our end. Maya has shared a feedback link in the chat. We'd love to hear more from you directly on how you found this event, was it useful, and what you'd like to see in the future. On the NBS side, we are also going to be distributing a longer survey, as this was the last session of our climate teaching series for now. And we're currently in a process of thinking through what that should look like in the future, how best we can continue to support you in that arena. So keep an eye out for that. We'd love to get more of your input. And we will be sharing, the video, the recording of this, as well as the slides and any additional resources from presenters in the coming weeks. And definitely following up on some of these ideas around creating tables, breaking up the presentations, making the information that we learned and shared here today as easy to access as possible in the future. So thanks again for spending a few hours with us today and for all of your important work on teaching sustainability. Hope you have a great rest of your day and a great responsible management education week.
Thank you.
Thank you.